and unmute. There you go. Can you hear me?
I think I can hear Martha. How about Carrie McMullen, or McCullen, sorry. We're going to give it a quick second. It shows we're live, but I just want to make sure the delay is being taken care of. So everybody stand by. Okay, good evening. Thank you for joining us. My name is Captain Brandon Paxton with Clackamas Fire. Tonight, this is an additional update regarding the fires that have occurred in Clackamas County. We have a number of presenters here with us tonight who are going to be providing information in their various areas of expertise. If you do have questions, please post those in the comments and we will get to those as time allows. And then after the fact, this meeting is being recorded and we'll post it on the various platforms along with resources for folks to access as we move through the coming weeks. So first off, I'd like to introduce the speakers who will be with us tonight, and then we'll move on to the presentations. So from Clackamas County, Commissioner Martha Schrader, Alan Sinclair of the Southwest Incident Management Team Number 1, he's the incident commander. Carrie McCullen, Oregon Department of Forestry. Division Chief Brian Stewart with Clackamas Fire. Battalion Chief Brent Olson, also of Clackamas Fire. Fred Charlton, Fire Chief, Clackamas Fire. Dr. Sarah Present, the Clackamas County Public Health Officer. Sergeant Marcus Mendoza of the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. And Nancy Bush, Director of Clackamas County Disaster Management. So with that introduction made, I would now like to turn it over to Clackamas County Commissioner Martha Schrader. Commissioner.
Thank you. I just unmuted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clackamas County Commissioner Martha Schrader, and I am Vice Chair of the Clackamas County Commission. Please let me start by thanking the committed men and women of our county, our first responders, our firefighters, our Sheriff's Office, the folks that are working in our Emergency Operations Center. We have had a really difficult year, both with COVID and now dealing with the firefighters. And they are doing an absolutely phenomenal job protecting the citizens of our county. And let me say a few words to our citizens of Clackamas County. Today, I had an opportunity to visit Estacada, where I talked to the mayor and the city manager, and also an opportunity to visit the sites that have undergone some severe fire damage. It is probably one of the most sobering visits that I will have ever taken in this county. And during these visits, I met a number of our constituents and our citizens. And what I came away with is that we as a county, our citizens, are resilient, they're flexible, and they are facing these tragedies, these fires, these emergencies with fortitude and guts and hanging in there. So in the face of these overwhelming events, I know that our homes here in Clackamas County actually will, in the end, be fine. I have complete faith in all of us to do the job. And I can assure you that your county government is working overtime to make sure you're safe and that you get back home as soon as possible. Thank you for this opportunity to speak this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. I'd now like to transition to Alan Sinclair of the Southwest Incident Management Team on the Riverside Fire. He's the incident commander.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Alan Sinclair. I'm with Southwest Area Team Number 1. We're one of 16 national Type 1 teams that are brought in to manage the largest incidents of national significance. And you know, we finished up a fire in Arizona, had a day off, and got flown here, some of us. So I want to give you a couple updates just on specifics about the fire. We're at 137,865 acres. We have 10% containment. We currently have 647 personnel assigned to the fire. And just with the rain and the weather that we have coming in, it's minimizing the fire behavior and allowing the firefighters to go a little bit more direct in some areas and get their lines in. So they're out there digging line down to mineral soil, sometimes through a duff layer of organic material. That's all the dead stuff falling out of the trees. That's a couple feet deep. So there's a lot of organic material that they're moving, separating burned areas from unburned areas, and they have to build a continuous line around the fire. And that's miles and miles of line that needs to be built. They are making great progress around the populated areas from kind of the Weyerhaeuser timber areas north around all the populated areas. So that work is being done to really secure that line there. We're taking advantage of the weather, but this is still a long-term event. We got rain. Like I explained, that deep duff, it takes a lot of rain to really penetrate down there. So there could be some heat along those lines. They'll be out there making sure that this thing's secure. I want to echo what Commissioner Schrader said about your communities, and this was a unique incident for us coming into the area where people had a lot of anxiety in the communities. You had fire right on your doorsteps, and well, I tell you, we were here Thursday, and what teams do is when we come in, we shadow the local folks in charge of the fire to make sure that we've got the right information so that we could take command of the incident and really have an up-to-date idea of what's going on. So our team comes in, we provide all the operational oversight for the firefighters on the ground and in the air. We provide logistical support. We've got a finance section that does comps and claims and land use agreements and make sure that the money that's being spent to manage large incidents is appropriately accounted for. We've got public information officers, liaison officers, safety officers, planning people to make sure that all the firefighters get a written action plan for the day and they know how to communicate and what their job's going to be for the day. And they've got weather and fire behavior forecasts. They get the complete package to go out there and do their job safely. So Thursday was the day that we were doing that. And so we had about 30 of our 60 strong team coming in into the area trying to get familiar with what was going on. And I've said this in the past, and I've kind of had some time to process the experience that day because of what some people described as a tactical pause, which on large incidents, what ends up happening when you've got crews embedded into a fire area, when you get alerted that there could be a change and a significant change in fire behavior, you send those crews back to their safety zones, and then they take that tactical pause and they wait for stuff to settle down. And I was in Estacada when that happened, hanging out with Brent Olson and Devin Parks, who's the superintendent of Zigzag Hotshots. And I would tell you, as I've told many people, that I was very impressed with their command presence. They had a big event on their hands, and there was others there involved with that, I understand, but those two did truly impress me. And the firefighters pulled out in an organized way and waited to see what was going to happen, and that was very appropriate and very responsible of everybody to do so. I've been under plume-dominated fires before, and I know what the signs of when you're under it. You can't see what's going on up above you, but we did have some aerial visual on the columns. And so as all that organic material is combusting, there's a lot of energy and heat released, and it lifts stuff. It lifts debris, dust, ash, smoke, all that stuff goes up into the upper atmosphere. And we had that layer of smoke everybody's been living in for a long time. Well, Those columns poked up above the layer of smoke, and people in aircraft could see them. And what they were seeing was indications that the two fires at that time could have been burning together. And what I experienced and what I have experienced in the past during situations like that is you get this kind of an eerie calm that happens. And the calm before the storm is a way you can describe it. And then you will sometimes feel kind of a low level hot wind. And that's one rising air mass pulling fire from, you know, another area. And felt those signs. Everybody bounced out for a little bit and then came back in when it was appropriate. So good job on everybody doing that. I know that there's been a little confusion in talking to some folks about what a tactical pause was. And we've really been trying to, you know, explain what we do when we're using terms like mop up and cut line and snags and things that folks might not be familiar with. So I wanted to take the time to mention that. One more thing, Sheriff Roberts, he gave one of his deputies my full, he gave them to me to utilize and get me out into the communities. Really appreciated it. We had a lot of folks coming. We wanted to make sure we made contacts with everybody and let them know from Estacada to Molalla, Colton. We were cruising around making sure that all these firefighters we had coming from all over the country, a lot of them in rental vehicles, that people knew who we were. And we had to make those connections quickly. And having that officer allowed us to go out there and meet people like Mayor, drink wine, and others throughout the communities. It got us in contact with the people we needed to be communicating with to get out there and ensure that we could have firefighter and public safety as our #1 priority. Thank you.
Alan, thank you for the update and appreciate you joining us. I'd now like to transition to Carrie McCullen on behalf of the Oregon Department of Forestry. Carrie.
Hi there, Brandon. Thank you so much for allowing us to join you this afternoon in the community briefing. Just to mirror what we heard from IC Sinclair there on the Riverside Fire, you know, the rain has been a blessing to have for the Clackamas County fires, but we're not resting on our laurels with this fire or with any of the 4 fires that are within Clackamas County. We're digging our heels in, being aggressive while we have the opportunity to really get into these fires and make sure that they're well taken care of for our folks with ODF. And just to give you a brief update, we do have 4 fires within Clackamas County that the Clackamas County Fires IMT team is working on. These are the Dowty, Unger, Graves Creek, and Wilhoit fires. The Dowty fire is currently at 1,508 acres and is 60% contained. The Unger fire is at 497 acres and 23% contained. The Graves Creek fire is actually 46 acres. We were able to contain it to 100%. So it's maintaining that 46 acre spread there. And we also have the Wilhoit fire to the south that's 592 acres at 17% contained. Each of the fires has its own operational staff present on the ground. And even though the Graves Creek fire is at 100% contained, we still have a staff that is operational staff on the ground there at the Graves Creek area that is in patrol status. So basically they're monitoring the perimeter of the Graves Creek fire to ensure that there are no hotspots or any smoldering areas to be concerned with. Apart from the 4 fires that I mentioned before, the Dowty, Unger, Graves Creek, and Wilhoit, we also have an initial attack team of operational staff that's on the ground in Clackamas County, essentially patrolling the areas to ensure that there aren't any further smokes that are being seen on the ground. Anything that the firefighters have not been able to see because of the smoked out conditions the past couple weeks, really, since everything kicked off in the early part of September. So we're covering our ground. We're making sure that there's everything is really covered and making sure that we're not losing any gaps or missing any areas. We have about 240 9 combined personnel between the Oregon Department of Forestry and the agency that I represent, which is the North Carolina Forest Service. We were able to move in around Tuesday of this week, and we have fully integrated with the Oregon Department of Forestry staff here at the North Cascade District within the Northwest Oregon. We're really excited to be here and very grateful for the opportunity to blend in with our Oregon Department of Forestry staff and get these fires that are currently active under control and help them monitor whatever else is going on in the district. Thank you for allowing me some time to update.
Carrie, thank you for the update. We'll now move on to Clackamas Fire District Number 1 Fire Chief Fred Charlton. Chief.
Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, everyone. Like Brandon said, my name is Fred Charlton. I'm the Clackamas Fire District Number 1 Fire Chief, and also the Chief for the Clackamas County Fire Defense Board. First and foremost, our hearts and thoughts are with those that have been impacted by these devastating wildfires. We have been out the last 2 days. We have 10 additional fire units made up of your local fire departments out patrolling the fires within the North Cascade Complex, as well as the Riverside Fire, just making sure that as we are transitioning, and as we've heard and saw this morning, the rain comes in, that we're making sure the community stays safe. I just would like to say thank you to everyone for the incredible outpouring of support. We have seen so many donations across Clackamas County, and this is food and water and financial contributions, supplies, donated equipment. Our firefighters can't do it without your help, so thank you to everyone who's been so generous in reaching out with those donations. And also a special thank you to all of our community heroes. We have seen so many individuals and communities come together, neighbors helping neighbors, and this is what's needed during these stressful times within a disaster. So again, on behalf of the Clackamas County Fire District Number 1 firefighters, the firefighters within Clackamas County and the Oregon Fire Service, thank you to everyone for coming out and helping support suppressing these devastating wildfires. Thank you.
Chief, thank you very much. Division Chief Brian Stewart out of Clackamas Fire was a division frontline supervisor on the Dowty Rd Fire. Chief.
Hi, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate the time this evening. A lot of the updates from the Dowty Fire have been covered both by the fire chief and then by the ODF PIO. A couple other pieces to touch on. Just as the task forces that Chief Charlton mentioned are patrolling, we'll be monitoring that, the current weather, and making sure that we balance our obligations on that fire with the obligations around the district, and making sure that we pace that with our other resources that are in assisting us from ODF. The evacuation level, if you're curious what that is, again, you want to check out the Clackamas Fire or clackamas.us/wildfires for that current map. And just want to make sure that people are still aware that while it is 60% contained, they may see some smokes 50 or 100 feet in the black. There's snags or hazard trees that we want to be careful of. And be mindful that we want to respond to emergencies. So if you see something that is bringing up a little bit of smoke well deep away from the edge, please be cognizant that it may not be something we need to deal with. If you see active flame, please make sure that you let us know. A couple of the next steps for the Dowty Fire include the investigation piece. Currently, over the last 2 days, we've had Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Oregon State Patrol, and Clackamas Fire District Number 1 investigators on scene. They'll be joined shortly here by wildfire investigators from ODF. And as they have more information available, that will be released to the public once we have that determined. With that, I just appreciate the opportunity to serve the community. And as we transition from suppression and into recovery, looking forward to supporting all of our community and members and our partners there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And we've had a number of questions already come in regarding the Riverside Fire. The first of which was, where can updated maps be found in relation to the Riverside Fire? So we'll post that afterwards, the link where that can be found, but that's at INCIWeb. The second, I'd like to just mention that the command staff from the Riverside Fire is hosting a virtual community meeting. It will be at 6 o'clock, so immediately following this meeting, for updated Riverside specific information. And lastly, there was a question regarding the containment, and it's currently at 10%. So Those are the questions we can answer real quick for the Riverside. And now I'd like to move on to Battalion Chief Brent Olson of Clackamas Fire. Chief.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brandon. Just a quick update from the Riverside Fire. Things are looking very good around the structures, and the Southwest Incident Management team has done a fantastic job of integrating with the local community and us as a local fire district. Their capacity that they added when they came in was unparalleled, and their grace under pressure was greatly appreciated. I just want to kind of give folks an update about some of the changing conditions on the ground with this recent weather event. The rainfall definitely has helped with suppression efforts, but is not the final key to this. One of the things that can happen with that that folks may not be completely aware of is that the fire-weakened trees with this soft ground, oftentimes those can come down unannounced and very, very quickly. So those can take down power lines, things of that nature. And a lot of the area in and around the Estacada Hillock Burn area has been re-energized by PGE. Now, while the wildfire threat may be reduced, those power lines are still dangerous as they are any other time if they are brought down by trees. So I just want to reiterate that, as well as the movement of fire apparatus and personnel on the roads. Just like before a few days ago, we still have people in and around the lines doing all the hard work out there to make sure that this fire continues to be contained and suppressed, and your cooperation in keeping the traffic slow is greatly appreciated to just keep our firefighters safe as well as yourselves. So please, as you repopulate the areas, come by, say hi to us. We're more than happy to engage you. Know that your Clackamas Fire is out and about patrolling, making sure that things are safe in and around your neighborhoods. So please, if you have questions or concerns, feel free to stop them and voice those concerns to them, and we'll do everything within our power to mitigate those items and make you feel more at ease. So that's what I have from the Riverside. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you, Chief Olson. I'm now going to move on to Dr. Sarah Present. She's the Clackamas County Public Health Officer for some updates around air quality and the overlapping COVID-19. Dr. Present.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. Again, I'm Dr. Sarah Present. I'm the Clackamas County Public Health Officer. First of all, to all of those who've been impacted and evacuated or lost their homes to these fires, I want you to know that we are here for you. The multiple stressors right now can just be too much, and I encourage you to reach out for help where you need it. If you need mental health support, please do not hesitate to reach out to the county's 24/7 crisis and support line. That's 503-655-8585, and we have trained professionals to help you. We're all doing the best we can with the information that we have to stay safe and healthy during these extremely difficult times. I want to take a moment and provide you with information about our current hazardous air situation and the COVID-19 pandemic, and how to recognize symptoms of exposure and how you can protect yourself and your loved ones from both. It's important to know that everyone can have health effects from breathing smoke, wildfire smoke, and air at the air quality that we've had the last several days. It's especially dangerous for our more vulnerable populations. So please, if you can, check on your friends and family and your neighbors who may be struggling. In terms of spotting the differences between smoke exposure symptoms and COVID-19 symptoms, respiratory symptoms such as dry cough, sore throat, difficulty breathing are common to both wildfire smoke exposure and COVID-19 infection. If you're experiencing symptoms that are unrelated to smoke exposure, these would be things such as fever or chills, generalized muscle or body aches, gastrointestinal symptoms like diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. For those things, you should contact your healthcare provider to see if COVID-19 testing might be needed. If you do test positive for COVID-19 and you are in quarantine or now in a shelter or other evacuation space with others, please contact your local public health department. You can call us at 503-655-8411. but keep your phones on and answer them, because it may be a contact tracer trying to get in touch with you, and we will work with you on finding resources to help ensure that you can safely stay quarantined and isolated and safe if you have had to evacuate your home and distance from others. Some simple but yet effective reminders: don't touch your face, continue to wash your hands often or use hand sanitizer. If you cannot, use soap and water. And most importantly, please wear a face covering when you're outside your home to help prevent the spread of the virus. I'd also like to talk a little bit about our air quality. It does continue to remain in the unhealthy range, especially for those vulnerable populations. Those are including underlying lung or heart disease, older adults, and children. So while our air quality is thankfully improving, please do continue to limit your outdoor activity and monitor the air quality index. It's important to track the air quality numbers because the projected rain we are having and continue to have may not fully clean the air from the particulate matter. Although it feels like the air is getting cleaner, please watch the air quality monitors, and our smoke levels may continue to go up and down. So I want you to follow the air quality index at airnow.gov. I encourage you to hold off on airing out your homes until the air quality index is in the moderate or the good level, which is the yellow or the green if you're looking at that air quality index. And you can also monitor some of our safe reentry or reentry recommendations for going home at clackamas.us. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and stay safe.
Thank you, Dr. President. Appreciate the update there. Now moving on to the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Marcus Mendoza.
Thank you. Yeah, first off, we want to thank again all of the agencies and fire personnel that are on the front lines and in support of the firefighting efforts. And then also to extend our gratitude to all the law enforcement agencies that came to support us while we were providing public safety in those areas. The Sheriff's Office continues to commit a tremendous amount of law enforcement resources to the fire-affected areas and surrounding communities. This is in the form of patrol services, safety, incident command, disaster management, planning, logistics, and relief. I want you to know that we continue to have road closures in the area, which limit access to the areas around the fires. This is mainly at the request of Fire Command, which does reduce the amount of traffic and increases the safety for our firefighters. It helps with the vital movement of, or the movement of vital equipment in and out of the fire zones. It also increases safety for the public, as you've heard, that there's potential for landslides and falling trees in those areas. We want the public to be aware that the Sheriff's Office has 2 command posts set up. Those are to pass information and connect people with resources if they're needed. Both of those command posts are located at fire departments. One is at the Colton Fire Department and the other at the Estacada Fire Department. Feel free to stop in there, and if you need anything, they can answer questions. They're currently staffed 24 hours a day with sworn personnel and with volunteers. And I would like to take a second to recognize those volunteers that I've seen out there with Clackamas County Search and Rescue, Mountain Wave Search and Rescue, and PNW, or Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue. So we do appreciate those volunteers coming out and helping us in those 24 hours a day at these times of need. At the moment, there are no expected changes to the evacuation levels at this time, but this is something that is constantly evaluated, and we work together with our partners at the fire department to make those determinations. Safety is our highest priority, and I want all of you to know that if you call, we'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Mendoza. Now I'd like to move along to Nancy Bush, the Clackamas County Disaster Management Director. Nancy.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me today. First, I too want to just extend all of my sympathies for all of you that have been impacted by the wildland fires, COVID, and everything that has been going on here in our county over the past few months. there have been, we think, around 90% or more that have been put on some kind of an alert or level have been able to get back to some normalcy as we move forward. But we do have about 5,000 residents that still are not able to go home by the numbers that we're looking at here. Just a couple of reminders, if you are still in a zone 2, remember that that is a get set zone, and that you are level, and you need to make sure that you are ready to go. Just because you've been able to come back in doesn't mean that level 2 has went away. So please still remember to be vigilant, and to remember that you still need to be ready to go if needed. And of course, level 1 is the set. In addition, I want to let you know we just got an update from PGE, and they are still looking at about 400 households that are without power here in Clackamas County. So I wanted to let you know that too, since we just found that out. In addition to that, there is a flash flood watch this evening, and I think a few people have talked a little bit about, making sure that we watch for debris flow, rock flow, trees coming down. As we have more rain and wind that are coming in over the next few days, it is really important to be very vigilant. Watch, the roads where you are. Don't go into areas that you're not supposed to go to. So I'm going to just read about the flash flood watch here for you. There's a flash flood watch for Northern Oregon Cascade foothills and Northern Oregon Cascades, including the cities of Sweet Home, Santiam Pass, Detroit, Government Camp, Estacada, Silver Falls, and Sandy from this afternoon through this evening. So please check conditions before entering into any areas that are a part of or near the burned area, and consider delaying any entry until conditions improve. Again, stay out of those closed areas. Watch for debris, mud, and trees coming down, because it can be very serious if you're caught in some of that debris. In addition, excuse me, we want to make sure that you know to reach out to the Red Cross if you have any needs. You can go to redcross.org/local/Oregon, and they are there ready to help you as well. You can also go to our website to get more resources and pages where you can go to for that, which is clackamas.us/wildfires. Okay, and please be sure that before you go into your home that you check for gas, the smell of gas, check everything out in your home before you actually turn anything on, just to be safe as well. We do continue Sergeant Mendoza mentioned the areas that they have for people to come and get information. We continue to support those efforts as well, and provide information to those points as well. So as you move forward, we'll be getting more information out there through that avenue. Just in closing, I do again urge you to sign up for public alerts if you haven't done so already. You can go to our Clackamas County page just at clackamas.us and follow the prompts there. Just a reminder that this is not just for this disaster, but if you sign up for those alerts, you will be in our system, and it will continue to alert you as we have other disasters and other things that may be happening in our community that are life safety issues. Thank you for having me this evening, and take care.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate the update. And that concludes our presentations by the speakers. So we'll start to move into the questions that have been submitted through the comments. Again, as Nancy mentioned, a great resource is clackamas.us. We'll put that in the follow-up post. And that's where the updated evacuation map can be found in terms of the various levels that are out there. So the first question that came in, this is for Carrie at ODF. In terms of the Dowty Rd fire, is the Dowty Rd fire 100% lined? And then where can ongoing information be found related to the Dowty Rd fire specifically? So Carrie?
Sure, those are very good questions. With the Dowty Rd fire, it is not currently 100% lined. There are just some areas that our firefighters have not yet been able to get to. They're trying to strategically place priority on the areas that are high priority for one and very much a focus for another. So it's not 100% lined, and with that, it is only 60% contained. Typically, a good solid line that's held and monitored would equilibrate with containment, and the fact that it's at 60% contained right now is evident. The fact that we don't quite have a line all the way around it, but there are areas that are priority, and there are folks that are boots on the ground that are making sure that they're monitoring the perimeter to make sure that there aren't any further aggressive spread, so to speak. So there may be an area that's just quietly smoldering. It doesn't have anywhere to go, or it's an area that's not quite a severity that they're focusing on. And as far as further information, you can look to the clackamas.us website. We're also forwarding information to the Riverside Fire. And so all those collaborations, of course, our coordinators there are helping us out with providing information. And then also we are working to get information out on our trap line, on our information boards. We've got a few stops for that. So for the Dowty Rd, the Estacado Fire Department has some of our information posted at the fire station there. There's a couple other sites that you can go to throughout the area in Boring, Oregon, and also in Oregon City as well. We'll be updating those bits of information as far as where our locations are.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie. And while I've got you here on the screen, just a follow-up question to Wilhoit related to how contained Wilhoit is, and perhaps maybe the acreage, just as a repeat for the audience.
Sure. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. Yes, the Wilhoit Fire, again, is currently at 592 acres, and it is 17% contained. That fire has roughly over 60 personnel on it right now, so we are trying to fight it very aggressively. Again, it's just a matter of getting to the priority areas, and the game plan for that guy is just to make sure that we hold the fire line, make sure it's secured, identify areas that may be hazardous, and also to start aggressively doing mop-up operations, which, as we talked about earlier, mopping up is just ensuring that any areas that are still smoldering get fully extinguished, they get monitored day to day, and hopefully with the number of personnel that we have on that fire, we intend to get it further contained beyond that 17% that we're at now.
Great, thank you for the clarification on that. Nancy, this question is for disaster management relating to the potential for landslides. Can someone address whether the community needs to be concerned with the potential for landslides?
Now, that is a great question. And yes, we are concerned, especially in the burn scars. So if you just think about in the past, in those areas when you have rain coming down, you know, like we do here in Oregon quite frequently, you have trees, you know, we have a good root system, you know, there's a lot of things there that handles that rain that comes down. In those burn scars, right now, there's nothing that is holding that rain or helping it to absorb as it usually does. So you could have some rain and water that comes down that can cause landslides or can cause rocks to move. If our tree roots have their system, if it's been burned and it's shallow, it could bring trees down as well. So please be very vigilant when you're looking or going out, or if you're in any of those areas where there could be landslides that come down on the roads, or there could be rocks falling or trees just because of wind and rain. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And this next question is for you, related to folks who are moving back, watching the evacuation levels change, and have livestock. Can you speak to when that would be appropriate for livestock to move back as the levels change?
Yeah, thank you. So we have been given the advice that if you are in a level 2, which you need to get ready, of course, at a moment's notice, that if you have your livestock in a safe place, that you should probably leave it there until a level 1 or of course a 0. If you are comfortable knowing that you can move your livestock very quickly, you have to make that decision for yourself. But we have been encouraging people to, take that very seriously. And if you feel like your livestock are safe where they are being taken, you can take care of them, and you're in a level 2, it's probably best to leave them until you know that it's a little bit more safe.
Thank you. And one additional question related to the safety of drinking water and the resource that is in place for that. Is the drinking water still good? And then there was a conversation earlier about conserving water. If you could touch on that.
Sure. I do have information here on drinking water. Right now, we do have some advisories or water system advisories. The Clackamas river water providers, they have safe drinking water. There has not been any issue there, which is mostly our metropolitan area. So some of the other systems, Cedarhurst Improvement Club, there's boil water advisories for Colton Water, Wildwood Annex Water District, Brookwood Water System, Totem Village MHP, Viewpoint Restaurant and Lounge, which is Estacada. However, they are not currently open. Those are boil water orders. A lot of those are also around losing water pressure whenever when power goes out. But please, if you have any concern about your water, you need to check with your water district just to make sure that there are no issues there. But those are the ones that have been reported to us, and our environmental health program is working closely with our water providers. But again, the Clackamas River water providers, that is safe drinking water, and there has been no issue there.
Thank you, Nancy. One of the questions we received was related to the Slater Fire out of Cave Junction, and if resources are going down there, and that would be managed by the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office under the Conflagration Act. So there are resources down there, and they are being mobilized and supervised by the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. We don't have any current information as to fire size or containment or any of those other updates, but that's the resource that has been sent there and managing that as well. Let's see, IC Sinclair, this question would be for you. Will airdrops be done now the weather has cleared up, and is there a need for those?
So we'll utilize aircraft as needed. Currently, we're not seeing fire behavior where we're needing to do that. But if we have clear air and we have a need to utilize aircraft for those types of missions, we will do so.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We're just checking to make sure we got all the questions here. Stand by. Let's see, Chief Charlton, are you on the call?
I am, yep.
Question, can you cover the collaboration of the citizens who stayed in the area and assisted in coordination with firefighting crews?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I know we have two of our chiefs on, Chief Olson and Chief Stewart, who were out there working really hand in hand with our community members. And we certainly recognize the support of the community. We understand that a lot of community members were in the community and they wanted to help. We did have a number of members out helping their neighbors, helping protect their own properties. They were providing some fire suppression efforts. We tried to keep track on where they were working, so in case conditions changed. Again, we continued to try to update the evacuation levels, and just remember that our #1 priority for all of these wildfires was life safety, and that's the safety of the firefighters and the community members that are out there. So again, thank you to everyone for coming together. And like we've said before, in times of disasters, really it takes all of us working together. So to this point, everyone has been safe. We've had a few minor injuries. And again, I think with the rain, the improving conditions, and the amount of resources that we were able to dedicate to these fires, although they're extremely devastating, we're working well together. So again, thank you to our community heroes who are out there helping support these incidents.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. And Nancy Bush, one additional question related to water safety in the area of 82nd Drive. And while you're loading your screen, we just got a comment from the Estacada City Manager notifying us that we can pass along that their water in Estacada is fine to drink. So thank you for that update. And Nancy, off to you.
Yes, thank you. And I believe, yes, Estacada is good. I'm sorry, do you have another question for me?
There was a follow-up related to water safety in the area of 82nd Drive.
Oh, 82nd Drive. Just a moment. I'm sorry, we have a lot of papers going on here. I do not have any concerns from my environmental health team about 82nd Drive.
Okay, thank you. And we'll include the link to the Clackamas County for additional information related to those updates as they become available. And we've got time for one last question. And Chief Stewart, I'll turn it over to you related to the investigations. Will there be a separate investigation into these fires? And has the cause been determined for all of these fires? It's a two-part question. Chief.
Thank you for the question. Let me tackle the second part first. Have all the fires been investigated? I would say unlikely that all of them have. I know internally for Clackamas Fire, we've been busy on a number of investigations related to the high wind wildfire event, as well as other investigations. And accordingly, as I mentioned before, ODF has been requested to come in with their wildfire investigation investigators, and I know they've been assigned, but they are busy working on other fires as well. I do not know if those are within the North Fire or the North Cascade Fire, or if those are elsewhere in the state. In terms of whether or not a cause has been determined for the Dowty Fire, I can speak to that. I spoke to our fire marshal and then also our lead investigator today, and no, they have not determined the cause of the fire, and they will not be able to do that until the wildfire investigators are there. But the team that is there of the multiple agencies are getting closer to what they think is the area of origin, and that is largely due to witness accounts as well as video that's been obtained in the area.
Great. Thank you for the additional information on that as well. Okay, well, thank you all very much to our presenters and those of you who have tuned in. Again, this will be a recorded piece of information that will be posted on all the various platforms that you've been finding information during this wildfire event. And we'll also post the resource links that are coinciding with the information that has been shared. As of now, we're planning to do an additional community update next Monday at the same time. And again, I'd like to encourage folks who are looking for more information related to the Riverside Fire. Their community meeting will be live here in about 10 minutes. So we can transition over there. And again, you don't need a Facebook account to watch that. And they're going to have additional information related to the actions and information on the Riverside Fire. So again, thank you for tuning in. Continue to look for resources and information at clackamas.us, and continue to be safe as we all get through this collectively. Thank you and have a good night.